I've been thinking about, and maybe you guys have these people in your life too, I hope not, but I think all of us do. The people who, when they find out that we are educators or about to be educators, they say like, well, why don't you just do something else? Or like, why? Or, you know, the other side of that, the dreaded like, well, didn't you know it was gonna be like this? Didn't you know what you were getting into? And so I've been thinking a lot about, yeah, a lot of the stuff we were really prepared for and we were really ready for and we knew what we were getting into. And then all of the stuff that is a bonus in a good way or in not so good of a way that we get in addition to what we were prepared for. Like, you know, they told us that we would work long hours and that we would be up at school on the weekends. And they told us that we maybe wouldn't make a lot of money and that a lot of the money we did make would go right back into our classrooms for things for our students and for our class. They told us that we would run into our students everywhere we go for the rest of our life. And they even warned me that there's some weird theory of teacher relativity or educator theory of physics that states that you are at least 1,000 times more likely to run into your students and their families in the event that you have a margarita in front of you at a restaurant. It's more likely. And they told us that we would need to be ready to teach students who came from trauma, whose brains maybe weren't ready to hear what we needed to teach them, students who were hyperactive or apathetic, who had parents who were maybe not in agreement with us on what was best for them, who had parents who maybe weren't as involved as we would like them to be. But they didn't tell me that I would get lice twice. They didn't tell me that sometimes we would have to call Child Protective Services and report abuses. And then we would have to watch our nervous student walk down the hallway to go talk with a caseworker. And that we wouldn't know if they would even be able to tell the truth once they got into that intimidating environment. And they didn't tell me that later I would cross my fingers and I would anxiously await phone calls from those same caseworkers, hoping that if, God forbid, one of my kiddos did have to get removed from their home, that maybe my home could be their safe place. And they didn't tell me that I would need to be prepared to go to funerals of my students, or that I would need to be prepared to pack up and buy books and toys and make care packages for a 6-year-old little girl who's just been diagnosed with cancer. Or that I would need to do all of that again for a former student who's now in 8th grade who was just diagnosed with a brain tumor. They didn't tell me that I would go visit my 15-year-old kiddo when he was in a coma, and that I would have to come up with the words to say to him when I didn't even know if he could hear me or knew that I was there. They didn't tell me that I would love thousands of students so much that it hurts physically, that their struggle would be our struggle, and that their heartbreak would be our heartbreak forever, and that it doesn't change when they leave your classroom. It doesn't change when they leave our rooms or when they leave our buildings or even when they graduate or have a baby. They're ours forever, right? And they told me that in our state, we would most likely only be able to stick it out for 5 years. They told me that it would be a rough job, but they didn't warn me about how many times my heart would break into 650 individual little pieces. But that somehow, some way, every morning I would wake up and I would want to go do that again. That I would even look forward to going to do that again. Because we didn't get into education because it's easy. We didn't get into education for that elusive summer off. We got into it because it's who we are, right? It's not just a job that you show up to every day. I really don't look at it as my job. Maybe it's cliche to say that it's a calling. Maybe it's just our personality. Maybe it's like a personality disorder. I don't really know. But we do it because it's a life that we step into because we know that every single one of those little potential heartbreaks is also a potential breakthrough, a victory, or a celebration. Because for every horrific, sad story that we can tell about our students, we have 10 success stories on deck, don't we? I can tell you about that 8th grade student of mine with the brain tumor and how in just a few days she'll be graduating, healthy, with honors, and with full ride scholarships lined up to multiple universities that she can choose from. I can tell you about a kid who hates reading, or as all my reading teachers in the room know, who thinks he hates reading, but he just hasn't found the right books yet. But because he thinks he hates reading, he is a daily distraction for everybody in class during Read to Self. And then one day he's audibly giggling in the corner. And when I walk over to see what all the giggling is about, he's giggling at a book because he has finally found a series that has turned him into a reader. Thank you, Dave Pilkey. And he now loves reading and wants to do it all the time. I can tell you about a second grade student we have this year who for the first 3 days of school hated school. And he made sure to let us know by crying all day, every day, unceasingly for 3 days. And then our counselor had the idea that maybe we should put him in charge of feeding the turtle that we have as a pet in the library. And hey, do you think you could come down a couple times throughout the day and take the tortoise for a walk? Because that's a job, right? And literally, I have not seen the kid without a smile on his face ever since. He exudes joy all throughout the day because of that one leadership role that he was provided. His smile lights up the library, lights up his classroom, and lights up our whole building. And he loves school now because of one counselor who saw that all he needed was something to do that made him feel like a part of our team. And I see you guys nodding and I see your smiles because you get it, because you know that that's why we do it. We couldn't just go do something else or go find another job, because who we are is teachers. And there's something in us that says we have to keep waking up and we have to keep doing it every day. We get to hold their hands and lift up their dreams and then sit back and watch them achieve. So yeah, we keep showing up and we keep doing it and we keep loving and we keep pouring out and filling up and we keep teaching like our life depends on it. Because at the root of who we are as educators, in some way, I truly think our life does depend on it. And at the end of the day, so does theirs. No matter what path got you here to being a teacher, thank you. And recognize that we're the only ones who get this life to do this with our students. Thank you.